are nearing deals with Trump where they're going to do tens of millions of dollars worth of pro bono work for causes that he chooses, all in an effort to sort of appease him and keep him from criticizing them or targeting them. You said that you've been disappointed in the way the law firms have responded here. What do you think the right response would be from law firms, from big law partners when these threats started coming down the pike? What should they do now, even now that so many of them have already signed these deals?
Well, I think, first off, the profession should have stuck together and rejected all of the attempts to go after them in the way that he has done, reject all of these executive orders and go to court and sue, as some have. If we had stuck together, if we had all stuck together, these facially invalid, clearly unconstitutional orders would have had no impact on the profession and would have allowed the profession to proceed in the way that I expect that it would. It's unfortunate that some have decided to cut deals with the administration, some even before they were the targets of executive orders.
We have seen some incredibly insane posts from Donald Trump lately. We have seen weird videos. We have seen insider trading tips, but the most recent might be the worst of them all just because of how badly it backfired Donald Trump recently. On Truth Social shared an old clip of Secretary of State Hillary Clinton talking about the issue of immigration. Now, Donald Trump thought that this clip would be a huge win for him. But in light of recent news, it is backfiring tremendously. And we are going to get into all of that. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way. And it really does mean a lot to me now. Before we can get into this post, we need a little bit of context, and that's coming from Chris Hayes breaking down the Supreme Court's ruling on Donald Trump's illegal deportation plan.
In a case regarding a Maryland man that the administration wrongfully arrested and deported to an El Salvador mega prison last month. His name is Court Garcia. We had his lawyer on the program just this week. Just over a week ago, the White House admitted in court that Garcia's deportation was a result of an administrative error. Because, you see, back in 2019, Donald Trump was president during that time, you might imagine, he got protected immigration status, which meant he had an active order that he could not be removed or deported. And yet, he was rounded up by the Trump administration anyway, and after they admitted to it in court, they refused to do anything about it. Basically, their stance was, whoopsie, we made an oopsie, he's in an El Salvador supermax, you'll never hear from him again, what do you want from us? Well, just about 2 hours ago, the Supreme Court weighed in unanimously. They now say that a district court, which previously ruled in this case, can indeed instruct the Trump administration to facilitate Garcia's return home. It will not be immediate, but the court says the White House has to start taking those steps. Now, because he's not in U.S. custody, he's in the custody of a foreign government, El Salvador, there's still a lot of open questions here. But fundamentally, the core issue in this and related litigation swirling around this maneuver the Trump administration has taken has been this. Can a president use the dubious invocation of a 200-year-old law, the Alien Enemies Act, which has only been used previously in wartime, to justify basically snatching anyone off the streets and then quickly shipping them off to a foreign prison where they will never be heard from again with zero due process? None. Now, to my mind, and the minds of, I think, many legal observers, the answer to that question has always been flatly no. If the Constitution protects against anything, it protects against that. But it has been a matter of whether or not this 6-3 conservative Supreme Court would acknowledge that reality. Well, that's why tonight's such a big deal. Today's decision from the court is, at the very least, an indication that at a baseline they will, and it is very, very striking. There were no dissents here. The administration did not even get Clarence Thomas or Samuel Alito or Neil Gorsuch on their side writing in their defense. So to put it lightly, that is not very common from this court when it comes to high-stakes issue having to do with paying deference to Donald Trump. Leah Littman is a professor at University of Michigan Law School, co-host of the Strict Scrutiny podcast, along with Melissa Murray and my wife, Kate Shaw. She's also the author of a forthcoming book, Lawless, which is out next month, and you can pre-order now. Leah, it's great to have you on the program. I guess just this stuff gets very complicated procedurally, but what is your reading of this unanimous order from the court?
So it is good news. It's better than what might have happened, but I think it's far from perfect and it's far from over, because what the Supreme Court did is they left in place the portion of the district court order that required the government to facilitate Mr. Abrego Garcia's return. But they indicated that the district court needed to clarify what the court meant by directing the government to effectuate, i.e. actually bring about Mr. Abrego Garcia's return. And they suggested that the court might actually lack the power to direct the government to effectuate the return. So that creates this kind of liminal space. What's the difference between facilitate and effectuate? What can the district court actually order the government to do? Can the government come back and say, well, we tried, and El Salvador said, no, sorry, we won't return him? Would that be sufficient? And that's a sort of ambiguity that the Supreme Court's decision left open, and that I'm very concerned the administration is going to try to drive a truck through and, take advantage of that ambiguity to delay, if not prevent, Mr. Abrego Garcia's return.
Yeah, I mean, we should say the district court judge here is Judge Boasberg, who has been the subject of a lot of...
So this judge is actually Judge Zinnis.
I'm sorry, this is not the Boasberg one. The Boasberg one is another, thank you very much, is another line of cases having to do with the Alien Enemies Act. This judge here had said, the district court judge had said basically, you have to go bring this guy back. Like, this is not right. You can't just say, nothing we can do. What do you want, Judge? Right? So the Supreme Court basically rejects the argument by the Department of Justice arguing for Trump that, there's nothing we can do. They stop short of saying you must bring him back, and they come down in the middle of you got to try, basically.
I think that that's right, and I think that's why we can't give the Supreme Court too much credit right now. We have to wait to see what they are actually going to do by way of enforcing the order. And specifically, are they going to allow the court to hold the administration's feet to the fire and actually prove what the administration has tried to do, and prove that doing other things might not be possible? Because the reality is that the administration negotiated an agreement with El Salvador. So El Salvador is detaining individuals pursuant to an agreement with the United States. And I think that makes it very likely that a single phone call from President Trump, the United States, could make El Salvador return Mr. Abrego Garcia. And the fact that they haven't done that already is appalling. And I'm very concerned that they are going to do what they have been doing in all of these other cases and try to obscure and obfuscate and go into court and say, well, we tried, and you can't inquire into that any further beyond our statement that we have tried and done the right thing. And unless the Supreme Court is going to allow the lower court to actually probe the administration's representations and to get them to prove that they have made their best good faith efforts to return Mr. Abrego Garcia, I think everyone should still be focused on this case and trying to convince, the public, the courts, and the country that this administration needs to ensure Mr. Abrego Garcia is returned to the United States.
A 9-0 ruling from the court is truly shocking. It highlights just how far Donald Trump has pushed the boundaries. It's surprising that they continue to escalate things and provoke further controversy. Just recently, we saw Caroline Leavitt suggest they're exploring whether it's even legal to deport U.S. citizens, which, of course, it is not. That idea is so far beyond the mainstream that it borders on absurd. We're not just outside the norms anymore. We've left them entirely behind. That's what makes Donald Trump's post about Hillary Clinton, shown here, all the more disturbing.
So I think we got to have tough conditions. Tell people to come out of the shadows. If they've committed a crime, deport them. No questions asked. They're gone. If they've been working and are law-abiding, we should say, here are the conditions for you staying. You have to pay a stiff fine because you came here illegally. You have to pay back taxes, and you have to try to learn English, and you have to wait in line.
What Donald Trump is clearly trying to do with that post is draw a comparison between his immigration policies and what Hillary Clinton said back in 2008 when she was running for president. Essentially saying, look, I haven't gone that far, just listen to this Democrat. But the comparison doesn't hold. What Hillary Clinton said actually made sense. Yes, We need a secure border. And yes, there should be legal processes for people entering the country. And if someone breaks the law, there are legal mechanisms for deportation. That's why we have a system in place. Trump wants to paint Democrats as being against border enforcement or deportations entirely, which simply isn't true. What Democrats have consistently pushed for is due process, something Trump was failing to provide, as the Supreme Court reminded him in the Garcia ruling. He's inadvertently reinforcing the Democratic position. We want a secure border and a fair, lawful system. By posting that, he's actually showing that Democrats are aligned with the mainstream, while he's the one pushing extreme and unlawful actions, stripping people of rights and deporting them without proper cause. It's absurd. And this continued attack on the rule of law hasn't slowed down, as highlighted in a powerful, though troubling segment from Rachel Maddow, shown here.
Mr. Attorney General, thank you so much for being here again. Last night, President Trump ordered the Justice Department, in a bizarre executive order, he ordered DOJ to investigate two named people who served in his administration during his first term in office. Each of them had criticized or contradicted him publicly. This is one of the anti-democratic bright red lines that I've been waiting for the Trump administration to cross. The president ordering his prosecutors to go after named people who displease him. Like, we're there. What do you think the response should be now that this has happened?
Well, in some ways, this is the most disturbing of the executive orders that he has signed. Everybody needs to understand executive orders do not have the power of law, and yet they can move parts of the executive branch. I would hope that lawyers, I assume that they have lawyers, will be as creative and as aggressive as they possibly can to forestall any investigation that might be taken. That might be a difficult thing to do. I'll have to look actually at what the terms are of the executive order. It may state a reason. I have not seen it. It may state a specific reason. He's not been shy in putting into his executive orders exactly why he is ordering these things. And if he's ordering that it be done because they were, in essence, critics of the policies that he had in place in his first administration, that might serve as a basis for trying to forestall any action by the Justice Department pursuant to the orders of the president. But this is a time, I think, to be aggressive in pushing back as much as is possible against these really absurd and shameful executive orders.
And thinking about putting together that kind of aggressive legal defense, that gets us right to the question of what's been happening with the president's efforts to, I think, shockingly successful efforts to intimidate law firms. And we've talked about this a little bit. I mentioned that your firm, Covington and Burling, was the first firm to be targeted by Trump. I know that your firm has signed a brief in support of another firm that is targeted by the president and that's fighting the executive order in court. But, just tonight, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that 4 more big firms are nearing deals with Trump where they're going to do tens of millions of dollars worth of pro bono work for causes that he chooses. All in an effort to sort of appease him and keep him from criticizing them or targeting them. You said that you've been disappointed in the way the law firms have responded here. What do you think the right response would be from law firms, from big law partners when these threats started coming down the pike? What should they do now, even now that so many of them have already signed these deals?
Well, I think, first off, the profession should have stuck together and rejected all of the attempts to go after them in the way that he has done, reject all of these executive orders and go to court and sue, as some have. If we had stuck together, if we all stuck together, these facially invalid, clearly unconstitutional orders would have had no impact on the profession and would have allowed the profession to proceed in the way that I expect that it would. It's unfortunate that some have decided to cut deals with the administration, some even before they were the targets of executive orders. And I think that, some pledge $40 million, $100 million, whatever it is, that he can help determine how the money is to be used for so-called pro bono activities. And I saw today he was talking about getting these law firms to help him negotiate trade deals or work on this whole tariff controversy. I'm not sure that they anticipated that, but that's what happens when you make deals with people like the president. You can't really tell exactly how you're going to be used. And so I would hope that people, that firms would consider their obligations, stand fast, understand that if you sue, you're likely to win, and that you will not suffer any consequence as a result of your opposition. Now, it also means that other firms should not be trying to poach clients of firms that are the recipients of these executive orders, should not be trying to poach lawyers of the firms that receive these executive orders. The profession, these firms, need to stand together. But if we do, I think we ultimately win. And for those who make these deals, what are you going to say 5 years from now, when this is over? And when you start to talk about all the great culture that you have, the commitment that you have to the rule of law, how you're willing to take chances to take on unpopular clients, how are you going to say that with a straight face? How are you going to recruit young lawyers to come join you in what you say is the noble quest of the legal profession? These are all the kinds of things that ought to go into the calculus that these firms make when they're trying to determine how they're going to react to executive orders that are either put against them or threatened to be put against them.
Yeah, what the legal profession, as a non-lawyer looking from the outside, what the legal profession has needed here, plainly, is leadership. I think with those words, you're providing some important leadership here tonight. Former Attorney General Eric Holder, it's an honor to have you here tonight, sir. Come back anytime. I'd love to have you.
Donald Trump will continue to attack any check on his power, and he will try the best he can to take issues that he thinks he's popular on and connect them to the institutions he doesn't like. He will say that the courts are trying to stop him from deporting criminals. That is not true. We are trying to stop Donald Trump from deporting people who are here legally, who are members and important figures in their communities, who are loving parents, who are working here, legally lawful, permanent residents who Donald Trump has decided he can ship to torture prisons in El Salvador. Those people should not be deported. That is not outside the mainstream. Donald Trump is. And we have to call that out every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I will see you soon.